All right, the cancellation has taken place of Contra again. Let's talk about it, okay? So she tweeted this out and then deleted it because she's a coward, but we'll forgive her for that. Gen Z queer people are hard to figure out. They're like, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex. You don't have to be trans. Casual reminder that heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid. Now, to be clear, this is very funny, and every word is truer than the word that came before it. And if you read this as a self-deprecating in queer community joke, there's nothing wrong with this. It's objectively perfect. It should stand in the lieu. It's flawless, okay? Now, it's impossible to know how much real sentiment is couched in this tweet, or at least it would be if Natalie hadn't released a giant notes app text follow-up to explain. But leaving that aside, let's death of the author for a second and just look at this, okay? She's so bad at Twitter. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. So anyway, some people have said this tweet is problematic, and God, what isn't these days? Well, I looked at the criticisms, and I think I understand where they're coming from. A lot of what I'm about to say is covered in Natalie's follow-up tweet. So we'll look at those two, but for now, let's just like get a vibe, okay? So first of all, the vibes on this tweet are on point, okay? Gen Z queer people are hard to figure out. That's an objective fact, okay? Have you talked to Gen Z queer people? Have you seen them on Twitter? This is an inarguable, this is ontologically correct, okay? Somewhere in the universe's code, you can find this information. This tweet exists. So anyway, let's go over this point by point, okay? First, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex. Now, keep in mind that Natalie is only saying that these are hard to figure out statements. And the statement, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex, is hard to figure out, right? I mean, that sounds contradictory. It's actually not. And I want to explain really quickly why it's not, okay? A lot of people don't understand asexuality that well, and that probably includes me, but there are a few things that I do know, and I just want to be clear about what they are in case anyone wants to know why people were getting tripped up over that. And it's that asexuality doesn't mean you don't like sex. Asexuality is a spectrum which describes the degree of sexual attraction that you experience. So it's saying like you can't be an asexual slut is like saying you're short, then how can you reach the groceries on top of the fridge? If that makes any sense. You know what I mean? It would be like you're short, but you don't braid your beard and have a giant runic axe that you carry around while screaming in a Scottish accent. You're tying a lot of stuff together into sort of hyperbolizing what's a spectrum. And it's true that dwarves, you fools, dwarves, because dwarves are short. Like saying that all asexual people don't like sex is like saying all short people are like Lord of the Rings dwarves. You know what I mean? Like, it's true that Lord of the Rings dwarves are short, as I understand it, but you're folding it all into the extreme of the spectrum. It describes sexual attraction. So, sexual attraction and sexual pleasure aren't actually the same things, you know? You can have sex for reasons other than sexual attraction, right? I mean, hasn't that happened before? Guys, have you never fucked somebody you weren't actually attracted to because you wanted to get off? Have none of you ever had that experience at a party? Come on. I'm sure at least some of you have. And again, as Natalie points out in the follow-up tweet that we'll look at, there are like straight people who will have gay sex in prisons to get off. And there are also gay people who will have straight sex to get off because they don't know any gay people around them. Vosh, this shit is stupid and cringe. I'm not describing a super complicated thing right now, okay? What I'm describing is not incredibly complicated. But follow through with me here, okay? Sexual attraction is a really big part of sex for me, and I think most people. I think the term is allosexual, which means not asexual. It's like the cisgender to being transgender, you know? But it's a really big spectrum, right? I mean, it could encompass a wide, yeah, allosexual. It can encompass like a wide range of shit. Now, again, to be clear, none of what I'm saying right now makes this tweet less funny, okay? Just to clear it up, technically, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex is not actually oxymoronic. It's hard to figure out because it seems oxymoronic, but it's not oxymoronic. Do you understand? It comes off, it's counterintuitive, but it's not inherently contradictory. Yeah, Vermin has this fucking chart, and if you want to go to Vermin's Twitter and look at the chart, you can, but my eyes blur over the moment I see any type of diagram explaining human sexual behavior. Sexual attraction, libido, sex favorability, sex positive. I think it's all great. You can tell from the colors, okay? You get what I'm talking about. Anyway, just to be clear, that statement, counterintuitive, not contradictory. Anyway, you don't have to be trans to be trans. So, to me, this is like really clearly just a joke. I mean, this is tautologically incorrect. By definition, you have to be trans, right? You know? You have kind of seen people talk like that before, right? Like on social media. I've seen people talk like that a little bit. I've been on Twitter and I've seen people say stuff, like, you don't have to be trans. Yeah, okay, we've seen that. Look, none of this is a super big deal. It's deliberately confusing. Western society will survive. Whatever. And casual reminder that heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid. The funny thing is that this is actually true because gayness is like a cultural thing now, isn't it? Like, do you guys not know straight gay people and gay straight people? People often talk about gayness in a way that doesn't actually describe their sexual attraction. And okay, guys, let me put it this way. How many times have you heard "that's so gay" used to describe something other than the explicit sexual attraction of two same-gender people? All the time. Constantly. Most of my friends are trans or gay or some flavor of both. And the terms, "oh my god, that's so gay of them," 99.9% of the time are not used to describe a person's sexual attraction. They're used to describe a person's affect. Elements of queer culture have gone beyond literal sexuality and are now a broad collection of traits and affects and stuff like that uh, are in a way more cultural than anything. You can feel this when you go around like a city, right? Okay, guys. Go to a college campus and then go to a rural community right off a highway. Now, find two heterosexual people from both of them. Which one's gayer? Come on. It's the city one. 99 out of 100 times it's the city one. Come on. You know what I mean. There are plenty of people in the queer community who use queerness and gayness sort of offhandedly as ways of describing cultural relations more so than they do actual sexuality. Also, people who are bi/pan and in relationships that are het passing get their gayness doubted, so yes, that phrase could be helpful to someone. Yeah. Again, I want to be clear, by the way. Nothing that I'm saying right now, Vosh, so it's like metrosexual? No, it's like... Okay, you can be a straight guy who wears nothing but like a polo shirt and board shorts, right? Or you can be a straight guy who wears like foofy knitted sweaters and cat ear headphones. Now, the latter is more gay than the former, even if both of them are exactly the same level of heterosexual. Do you understand what I mean? So a femboy? No, it's an affinity for queer culture. It's a comfort with queer culture. So when oftentimes people will say like, "Oh, this straight person's gay," they're not actually gay. It's that they're comfortable with the coding and the fashion and the expression of the queer community. Do you guys not understand what I mean when I say that queerness is a culture? Because, like, if you go to any queer community, the fashion you're looking at, the music you're hearing, the language they're speaking, that's not their sexuality. That's a culture. A sexuality isn't expressed through your clothing or anything else. It's a pure, raw distillation of who you prefer sexually. So everything else that you see, all the affects that are associated with the queer community, that's a culture. And you can be straight and be a part of that culture. Anyway, I don't even know if that's what Contra meant when she was talking about this. I'm only pointing it out because life is wonderful and complicated, and you're all beautiful people, okay? So anyway, this tweet was extremely based and red-pilled. Isn't this what metrosexuality means, though? Metrosexuality is kind of an outdated term, but it mostly means a guy who, like, washes his asshole when he goes in the shower or whatever. I don't know. He preens, the metrosexual. So all of you should be metrosexuals in that respect, I hope. Anyway. So Contra did delete that, much to, you know, the shame of the world. It is gone now. And then, following the criticism, Contra put this out. All right. Oh God, so look, last night, it's true. I admit it, I confess it all. I started discourse. Yeah. We'll read her perspective. Anyway, she actually starts responding to it from the second paragraph. The discourse is about Gen Z queer people online saying things like, I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck, and blah, blah, blah. Note, I'm not saying these things aren't valid. And that's true, she didn't say that. I've never been big on deciding what is valid. If you're a horny asexual who loves to fuck, by all means continue with my maternal blessing. But surely you must see that to most people, the statement, I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck, is at face value confusing, contradictory, and in so many words, hard to figure out. Sometimes I get the sense that people like... Now, I think this next part is super true, by the way. Sometimes I get the sense that people say these things in order, in part because they enjoy the provocation of the seeming contradiction. And you guys know that's true. You know that's true. You know you see these queer people who will come up with ways of describing themselves that are deliberately contrary sounding because they enjoy confusing people. That's 100% true. And that makes Contra's tweet hard to figure out. All the more valid, I think. But anyway. But maybe I'm wrong. Just to be safe, I'm going to use my platform to explore why these seemingly contradictory statements might in fact make sense. How nice. And then Natalie goes on to, I guess, say a lot of what I've said here. One thing I see a lot of people saying is that asexuality means lack of sexual attraction rather than no libido, meaning that asexual people might still desire sex, even absent any specific object-oriented attraction. If that seems counterintuitive, consider that people often have sex for a reason other than sexual attraction. To feel attractive, that's a big one. To sustain a marriage, for money, etc., and that sex may still be enjoyable. Now, the only thing that I don't think that I like about this is that it sort of leaves out the possibility that a person could have like not have sexual attraction, but enjoy sex without it feeling like a contractual thing. You know what I mean? Like a transactional sort of thing. There are ways to want to have sex with a person that aren't sexual attraction, that aren't like really transactional. Like, for example, romantic attraction. There are people who like having sex with people not because they feel sexually attracted necessarily, but because they feel romantically attracted to a person. And sex is a way of expressing that romance, or at the very least can be a way of, you know, enjoying a component of the romance. You know, I know there are people like that. Now, again, I want to be clear. All of you are dumb, okay? You should, all humans should see big bouncing boobies and just go like, oh my God, yes. Obviously, anything that isn't that is so far off the mark. But you're all valid in your wrong perspectives. Sometimes straight people have gay sex just to get off, blah, blah, blah. The gay heterosexuals, gay describes a sexual orientation, but it also describes a community and a culture. Yeah, we still got this, blah, blah, blah. I suspect, for example, the community would be irritated at me if I identified both as a lesbian woman and a heterosexual transvestite. But I guess I should have thought of that before becoming an autogynephilic menace to society. Very true. We stand an inconsistent queer community sometimes. God, I'm depressed watching in horror as I type this out. Where's my jewel? Okay, that's enough. Thank you, Natalie. If there's any lesson to be taken from this, it's that Natalie really needs to commit to her decision to not be on Twitter, because she followed up with some spicy tweets. You know, after that big one, I want to be alone, which is, you know, always a very composed thing to tweet out as an enormous public figure. And then the even more composed thing to tweet out, I'm detransitioning, I'm gonna head out, which she has already deleted. And that was just an hour before right now. So I'm sure she's doing wonderfully, and I hope she's enjoying whatever cocktail of illicit substances she's imbibed. Honestly, while I do think, as always, people go way too hard on Natalie, I feel like she needs to chill out. The cancellation really wasn't that bad. I don't know. I feel like a lot of this is like sort of cyclical, where the it's not the cancellation she experiences now, it's the memory of the previous ones that sort of echo in her brain whenever this happens, you know? Yeah, I imagine it's not like she just like she sees like the people getting mad at her over this thing, and she just gets reminded of the the all the yeah, it's like the PTSD of being canceled or whatever, which sounds like a joke, but I've been canceled enough times to know that there are at times like sometimes you see like the cancellation building, and I'd like to think I have a pretty thick skin, so maybe our experiences would be different in this respect, but there's definitely like a feeling, right? You know what I mean? Like when you feel the cancellation building, or for example, that it'll have you like, oh, okay, all right, I'm sure you understand what I mean. There's always something there. Anyway, hope she's doing okay. But she really shouldn't be making any even remotely controversial statements on social media if this is how she responds to them. In a way, it almost feels like she baited that. In fact, I could be wrong here, but it wouldn't surprise me if Natalie was feeling upset when she initially tweeted out the banger, the one that she first deleted, and she was in a way sort of how do I put this? It's when you feel a general sense of animosity and you feel it building inside of you and you just want to materialize it by engaging in some negative behavior with another person. You know what I mean? Like you can be in a bad mood and then someone who's done nothing wrong can be around you and they can be like, "Can you pass me the thing?" And you're like, "Well, you get it yourself." And they did nothing wrong. I feel like, in a way, Natalie might be doing the Twitter equivalent of that, where there was some underlying antagonism that she manifests through baiting out cancellation. Maybe not like super consciously, but I gotta wonder what she was thinking with the first tweet. It's funny, but like, she's not dumb. Far from it. She had to know what the response would be. It wasn't even that negative. What was it? 300 quote tweets to 7,000 likes? I guess that's a little bit. I mean, it's hardly a ratio, but that might also explain why she reacted the way she did afterwards. So I don't really know. Whatever the case is, I hope she's doing well. The only person here who's getting hurt is Natalie. So as always, I think the victim here is her. Do you think people are going too hard on Zoomers? I don't care. Natalie just made a little joke tweet. It's fine to make fun of the kids. This wasn't like a full-on reactionary thing, not even close. Especially since the explicit text of the tweet was totally correct. Hard to understand. I mean, true, yeah, they do it on purpose. They love dancing on terminology. Anyway, Godspeed to her. I believe in her.